What will the next generation of consumer wine technology look like? AI, AR, VR, the digital shelf. I think I have an idea. But even if I don't, I have a way for you to make your own better predictions. Either way, you win. Now, what I'm going to tell you does not constitute investment advice. The value of this advice may go down as well as up. But wine tech has been described as a graveyard of failure. So my advice can hardly be much worse than what's gone before. Now, it's true. There are businesses that have combined wine and technology. But it's also true that nobody to date has retired to an island somewhere in the Caribbean on the back of their investment. Why is that? If there's been a theme to consumer innovation in wine and tech, it's been that it's been built around personalisation, making bespoke recommendations. A computer analyses your wine preferences, things like colour and flavour and acidity and body and price and sweetness. Clever software, often powered by experts or just maths, then generates personal wine recommendations, usually with some sort of a score. There are two problems to this. One is that wine is a famously social product. We drink it with other people. A wine app that gives you personalised recommendations, it embodies a spirit of, well, I've had my fun and that's all that matters. The second problem is couched in a remark by John von Neumann. I mean, he's one of the fathers of all the technology that we use today. It's true, the algorithms and the tech and the maths behind these apps is complex. But as von Neumann said, if people do not believe that mathematics is simple, it's only because they do not realise how complicated life is. The preferences that we have in wine are much more than how it tastes or what we're eating. Wine has an almost unique ability to capture a mood and a moment, our values, our aspirations and desires. These all lie in a realm beyond maths. So I'm going to make two predictions. And the first of these is that we will continue to see a regular flurry of modest innovations based on all of technology's two-letter acronyms. But before you get excited about each one, do a Venn diagram, like this one, for VR wine tourism. The technology exists, and it is clever. It opens up a whole new realm of wine experiences, virtual experiences. And no doubt, somewhere in the investment prospectus, somebody will assure you that millennials love experiences. So on one side of the Venn diagram, we have people who are prepared to pay almost $4,000 for a pair of VR goggles to visit a winery. And on the other side, people who are not prepared to spend $500 or $1,000 to visit the winery in person, with their partner or friends, meeting real people and taking photos of themselves to share on social media with other real people. Now, the intersection of those groups is, for me, I think that's quite small. Let's take another example, an AI app that provides bespoke food and wine matches. In fact, 15% of people say they actively avoid having to talk to wine service staff in a restaurant. Even more simply don't like it. Now, when we think of the tens of millions of restaurant goers, that 15% or even larger is a large number. But again, let's do the Venn diagram. Because what is the intersection between people who don't want to talk to the sommelier and people who are into wine enough that they don't want to just choose house wine, but they are prepared to pay money for an app that gives them curated premium wine choices based on food and wine information that they're prepared to input at the table that needs to offer better results than a free account with ChatGPT. And people who are still not prepared to say to someone whose job is literally to give them an answer, Which wine do you recommend? So for real innovation, let's not look at wine, let's look at the much bigger picture. What are the technologies that have changed our lives already, like social media? The ability to share information about our lives and discover things about other people's lives too. Or e-commerce, where we've broken the bonds of shop opening times and locations so that we can find and assess and buy anything, anywhere, at any time. It's a concept known as the digital shelf. Technology is intimately linked to culture, and wine is something that embodies our values. In the traditional economy, we signalled our status through collecting things: brands, wines, experiences, Instagram followers. But what if we're moving into more of an aspiration economy, where we signal our status through things like our tastes, our knowledge, our membership and influence in micro-communities of shared values? That all happens on and because of social media. Innovation in wine technology up to date has been driven by underpant gnomes. Behind the question mark, it always sort of says something like monetize by selling wine direct to the consumer. But to misquote John von Neumann, if people do not believe technology is simple, it's only because they do not realize how complicated selling wine is. Truly successful consumer wine technology will bring together, I believe, social media with that digital shelf. It's an intersection sometimes known as social commerce. That doesn't really do justice to the intersection of people telling stories and sharing their values through wine, with the ability for others to buy those stories and the values that are embodied in that bottle of wine at any point of time and with very little friction. These will be technologies that allow everyone, not just brands, but content creators, publications, and indeed just normal people, regular drinkers, to share what a wine says about them so that others can buy that meaning, that message in a bottle, for themselves.